Good afternoon, everyone, to this midday Power Boost. Hope you had a good 4th of July weekend and now back in the middle of things. So maybe to relax from the weekend, but also to relax from what happened this morning and to get centered again. To just take a few minutes to come into conscious spiritual awareness. Those of you who are experienced meditators and experienced yogis, very good. You might have an ongoing state of calm and inner clarity. But even then, it is still good to consciously come back to essence and basics. And those of you who are not experienced in that way, it is always good to take a few minutes to consciously come into the awareness of what is essential, of what is truth, of what is priority, and what is truly useful in our life and for our existence. And one simple way to come back to that awareness is to consciously create the recognition that there is a physical dimension. For example, the body and the different actions that we perform through the body, and the sound and the objects around and other people. That is part of the visible, physical dimension. But at the same time, there is an invisible dimension of consciousness, dimension of intention, of attitude. And just get into that awareness. There is the body, and there is appreciation for the body. And we consciously relax the body. Let the breathing become regular and deep rather than superficial. Become aware of the position of the back and the shoulders. Let it be straight, but at the same time, no tension in the muscles. Relax the hands. And this body is such a precious vehicle. Such a wonderful instrument to talk and to interact. at the physical and human level. But at the same time, get the feel also of that awareness that the one who is using the body is invisible. Invisible experiencer, soul, inner being, being of consciousness. These are all names for the spiritual being. The one you cannot see with these physical eyes, but the one who experiences everything and gives life to this body. And gives life to that spiritual personality, to the physical personality. Invisible, spiritual being of consciousness. And for a few moments, just hold that awareness. On one side, there is the visible, physical dimension, and there is the invisible dimension of consciousness. And the real self, the soul, belongs to this invisible dimension. And we can use for the purpose of clarity, for the purpose of explaining, the image of a tiny star, tiny star, to indicate this real self. Living light. And this living light operates the body from behind the eyes, center of the forehead, this living light is a silent observer. Observer of the body, observer of the different scenes in the drama of life. Silent, traveling observer. This is the real self, traveling from one moment to the next, from one day to the next. Just like a car and a driver. This being of light, the real self, is independent from the body and the part. Living light is free to move on even beyond the limitations of the body. Free. And just try and grasp that mindset of a traveling observer, but in this case, invisible. Observing the drama of life, traveling through time and space. Even when this body comes to the end of its lifespan, the being of consciousness travels on. Maybe takes another body in another scene, in other circumstances. But the real self is free to journey and to observe the variety drama in the world of matter. This living light, this tiny, tiny star also has a home. But home is beyond the physical world. This spiritual being who is bodiless, timeless, imperishable, soul, is free and godlike in nature, belongs to the dimension beyond. That infinite expanse of stillness, of silence, the home of peace, the home of eternity, the home of eternal belonging. Nirvana, Shanti Dham, different names for the soul world. And just allow the mind to get familiar with that state of consciousness beyond sound. beyond matter. Just a bodiless, silent observer, soul. An innocent, pure, free being of consciousness. In that infinite, timeless expanse of silence and light. And when the mind is focused on the soul world, emerging those feelings of lightness and freedom and home and belonging, we do not allow thoughts of the drama of human life to come into the mind. If thought comes, we don't fight with it either, but just let it go. Just like clouds, they come and go, but you don't get into that thought pattern and just say hello and bye and immerse the mind in that awareness of the true self, spiritual identity, timeless, living light, innately peaceful, divine in nature, eternal child of God. And if we are experienced more and more, this awareness of bodilessness can become strong. It becomes easy to perceive the presence of the Supreme. One who is forever in this clarity and this state of highest awareness. Supreme Soul. Forever egoless. Forever bodiless. Forever blissful. And that subtle and refined company at level of consciousness reinforces and strengthens our own higher nature. And as we gradually choose to come to the end of this meditation experiment, in the mind approaching again this awareness of the physical dimension and the body and the role that we play in this drama of human life. Aim to hold that bigger picture, that broad awareness of what is imperishable, what is timeless. This living star is the silent, invisible observer, watching through the windows of the eyes. Tiny, tiny star. Thank you and have a good day.